Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about a concept that's sort of tangentially related to writing. It really fits in with a lot of other aspects of life, and it comes up a lot with my clients, and so that's why I thought I'd probably make like a whole video dedicated to this. And I've probably maybe touched on some of these concepts before, but figured, yeah, let's just put it all in one video, and that way it's easy to find. And that is the notion of like, is talent really important? In almost everything that we do, there is someone who just seems to be a natural at it, right? They're just good. They start off good. The kids who were artists in class, who their doodles were just kind of amazing and something that you would have to study for long periods of time to even get good at. With a lot of the writers, people who they just kind of banged out their first novel, and man, is it already better than your fourth or fifth novel. Even in athletics, some people are just naturally faster or stronger or more limber or whatever it is that we're doing. Some people are naturally more charismatic and they make friends super easy, whereas it seems to be like pulling teeth for you or something along those lines. There is always someone who has just a natural born, inladen talent. And for those of us who don't have it, that is very frustrating and also very discouraging, especially when we're first starting out. Because if, let's use like high school or college, where everybody's kind of at about the same level. They're all about the same age, all about the same level of education, about the same level of life experiences. So those are all factors that are sort of controlled for. And yet one person in your writing class is just amazing. They're just knocking out stuff that makes you want to cry. And you've spent days and weeks working on this one paragraph, and you still don't like it. And nobody in class seems to even register that they even read it. It's very boring. It's very unmemorable. And it's super easy to get discouraged because that person is just so far ahead of you already, and the imagination is like, well, how far ahead will they be ahead of me in like a year or 5 years or 10 years or anything else like that. And so not having talent can just seem like a huge discouragement for a lot of us. And I think I've definitely sort of fallen into that trap as well. But then I remembered this one study, and I talk about this a lot with a lot of my clients because it comes up in a lot of cases. They did a study a while back where they took a bunch of elementary school kids. I forget what grade they were, probably various grades. And they went into the classroom and they said, okay, kids, what we're going to do is we want to give you all a test. And then we're going to collect your test when you're done, and we're going to score them, and then we're going to sit down with you and talk about your scores and how you did. So they handed out the test to all the students, and all the students took the test, and they returned the test to the researchers, and the researchers immediately threw them out. They didn't look at the scores. They didn't score them at all. They didn't look at them. They didn't care. That's not the important part. What they then did was randomly assign all the kids. They didn't know this, but half the kids were put in one group, and the other half were put in another group. And then when the researchers sat down with one group, they said, wow, you did really good on this test. You must be very smart. And they hit that over and over again. You're smart, you're brilliant, you're really smart, this sort of stuff. They kind of put that idea out there. And then they told the teachers the same thing. This student's really smart. He did really good on this test. The other group of kids were told, wow, you did really good on this test. You must be a really hard worker. And they kind of played that up. Oh, you're a really hard worker. You must really try a lot. You must not give up very much. And they told the teachers that as well. And what they did was they came back like a week later and they told the class, all right, class, what we want to do is something similar. We want to give you all a test and we'll go over your scores again. But this time you kind of get to pick. You can kind of do a test similar to the one that we did last time, or you can do this other test that we think might be a little more difficult. And what they noticed is the kids that were told that they were smart, more often than not, picked the same test that they did before. The kids who were told they were hard workers picked the more difficult test. And what they assumed from this was that Smart is an on-off switch. You're either smart or you're not smart. If you're not smart, what are you? Well, dumb. I don't know. I don't feel dumb, but I guess, Smart, talented, pretty, funny, these sort of things, these very declarative labels that we can put on ourselves become an on-off switch, become a part of our identity. And if you lose it, well, then who are you? If you're not a talented writer, well, then who are you? What are you? We don't know what to do with that. And so, but if you're told that you're a hard worker, you see, you can't lose that. The only way you lose being a hard worker is by giving up. And that's it. So long as you're trying, you can still maintain that identity that you are a hard worker. And we also know, and people will tell you that practice makes you better. Trying new things makes you better. Experimenting leads to new outcomes. But if you're worried about holding on to your little talented status, you don't want to do any of that. You don't want to write the harder stories. You don't want to learn a new skill because maybe you're not good at it, and well, then I guess you're not talented. You don't want to try and write outside of the genre in which you're already selling lots of books, because why would you? Hey, I'm a leading fantasy author. I'm always in the top 10 rankings of Amazon.com. Why would I try and write romance or horror or something? Because I probably won't be good at it. And therefore, I'm not talented, right? Whereas the hard worker sees all of that as a challenge, because they can't lose that hard worker status. Once they're constantly in the top 10 of the fantasy genre or whatever, they're looking for a new genre because, man, I want to try this over here because I'm a hard worker. And maybe I don't know how to write horror, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to read a bunch of horror. I'm going to read books on how to write horror. I'm going to listen to every interview with Stephen King and Dean Koontz and all the great horror writers or whatever, because I want to be a great horror writer, and I'm not afraid of working hard. A writer who is a hard worker will write every day, because that's what a hard worker does, right? They'll write every day, even when they don't feel like it, even when it's probably not very convenient. Maybe even when they probably should, and they probably need to take a break. Being a hard worker can be overdone as well, but that's the attitude and the mentality. And a hardworking writer is, I would argue, guaranteed success. Because if you're always writing and you're always putting stuff out there and you're always trying things and learning things, you're going to get there. It may take you years to just get to the level that the talented writer was kind of just born at, but you can still get there. But if you're a talented writer, it's kind of easy to hit a ceiling because you don't want to challenge yourself, right? Your ceiling may be way up here and you might be really successful, but there's no ceiling to the hardworking writer because they just keep working hard. And they're fine with the struggle, right? A hardworking writer doesn't mind that their stories get rejected. They don't mind the bad reviews. They don't mind the piles and piles of red marks from their editor, because they're not talented. They're hardworking, and that's just more work for them to do. Whereas a talented writer gets a crap ton, maybe not even a crap ton, just gets any amount of edits from their editor, and they're like, no, I don't like this. Either they will dismiss all of that feedback because I'm the talented writer. What the hell do you know, Mr. Editor? And so they'll just ignore all that feedback, and then they'll never improve. And I'm not saying you always have to take all the feedback of your editor, but they're never willing to sort of internalize, like, oh, maybe this scene is kind of lame. Yeah, maybe this is a plot hole. Maybe I should have more of a context of why this character is doing what they're doing, or something else like that. They're like, oh, no, he just didn't get it because I'm a talented writer. See how that works? So what I try and do, and this is kind of easy for me because I've never ever thought of myself as a talented writer. I'm always a little self-deprecating, at least in my own head, mainly just to kind of keep my attitude in check, that I'm never very good. I've always got a lot to learn. I know I need to work on my pacing a little bit more. I know I need to work on my power use of power words, that sort of thing. Whatever sort of craft thing, I'm always kind of checking myself that I need to work on that a little bit more, because I don't want to ever think of myself as a talented writer, because then it's too easy for me to just, give up on stuff. I'm not 100% successful. When I actually, the story behind me, when I sent it into Dream Tower Media, a Babe in the Woods, he came back and he had some edits. And my first reaction was, oh no, this is my baby. I can't change it. This is, this has to be the way it's written. This is how my subconscious produced it, because I'm a discovery writer. I have to honor my creative process. And then my own creativity jumped in and goes, yeah, but that's actually a good idea. And I've already thought of 3 different things that we can kind of do, and that will change it up and make it. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I just got to let that go. That my editor, the editor of that magazine, saw something that I didn't, or at least asked a question that I didn't. And that's what I needed to spark my imagination. But if I was a talented writer, I would have just withdrawn the magazine or the story, which, by the way, was my first reaction. So, well, I guess it's just not good for your magazine or whatever. I'm so fucking great, right? But that was my first reaction, and then I put myself in the check. And so what I really try and do is think of myself more as a hardworking writer who is constantly learning, is constantly a beginner. No matter how well I'm doing, or I think I'm doing, I'm still a beginner, and I still need to learn, and there's still stuff that I need to learn. And really, there's a wide variety of writers out there that I need to learn from. Get down off my damn high horse and start paying attention to the romance writers, because a lot of them are making a living off of their writing, so they're doing something right. I need to figure out what that is. And just kind of let myself have fun with the learning. The good news is I personally love learning, and so having that attitude is a little bit easier for me. But that's one of the things I'd challenge for you, is if you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like your stuff is no good, if your stuff, nobody really likes it, if you feel like you're not getting anywhere because you keep submitting stories, they're not getting accepted, and you don't really see what's wrong with you, kind of let go of all of that and just say, you know what, I'm a hardworking writer. That's what I do. I'm going to outwork all these other guys out here, and I'm going to get a story submitted, because I'm going to submit 100 stories over the next year, or I'm going to have 100 submissions. There was another person who taught, I think it was Diane Callahan, I think that's how you say her name. She's the quotient writer or something. She talked about how focus on your failures. In a weird way, that makes you more successful. Just say, I'm going to get 100 rejections for my short stories over the next year. That's cool, because you can hit that number, because I didn't hit 100 rejections, but I got several dozen rejections, some of them for this one particular story too. And actually, by the way, this is the 3rd story I'd submitted to Sexy Fantastic. I don't think Robert at Dream Tower Media remembers that stuff, but yeah, I've sent him. That was the 3rd story I sent him. So mine was, I'm just going to keep sending stuff and just enjoy the rejections, and I keep a little tracking list of all the stories and where I've sent it and where it's been rejected, so I know, partly so I know not to send it back there, but also because that way I know, like, oh, that's how much work I've been doing, because I'm a hardworking writer. I submit things. A story doesn't sit in my hard drive very long without being submitted out to the world, and even then, if I can't find a home for it, I'll just self-publish it. And if you go to my Amazon page, if you go to or Kobo or Barnes & Noble, you'll find a large group of my short stories, because I'm going to put it out there, and I'm going to keep working hard, and people will find it, and eventually something will click. I don't know what it is, but I kind of don't care, because I'm just working hard and learning. And so it's that shift in your attitude that's very important, that don't let yourself think of yourself as a successful writer or a talented writer or anything else like that. Think of yourself as a hardworking writer. And then what does a hardworking writer do? Even if you don't feel like you're a hardworking writer, imagine, what does a hardworking writer do. This is why I think it's really good to study like the old Pulp Fiction writers, because those guys were hardworking writers. They had to be. They didn't have Amazon as an option. They couldn't self-publish. So if they wrote something, they've got to mail it out, and they've just got to constantly mail it out. And if it gets rejected, they got to send it to the next place, and they're constantly searching for new places to send their stories. All the while, they're banging on their typewriter, making more stories, because that's how you got to do it. So we studying a lot of the Pulp Fiction writers can be really good, because that can give you an idea of what hardworking looks like. And then, then you have to do it in the context of the rest of your life. I would love to spend all day, every day, just working on my fiction and just writing and reading and taking classes. But I got private practice, I got clients, I got bills to pay. So someday I'll get there, because I'm going to be a hardworking writer and I'm going to put stuff out. But anyway, let me know what you think. Have you found that this hang up of are you talented or not is a problem for you? Do you think of yourself as a hardworking writer? In what ways do you kind of live up to being a hardworking writer if you're already doing that? But anyway, I will talk to you later. Bye.